Hey, I'm Garrett. I've been a wedding photographer for 14 years, and in that time I've learned a lot. And while much of that learning came from working with other wedding photographers, a lot of it also happened on YouTube. So believe me, I know there's a lot of content out there that will teach you how to shoot a wedding. What there's a lot less of, however, is what to do after you shoot that wedding. So since I just shot a wedding 2 days ago, I figured I could walk you through step by step the things that I do from ingesting the files to delivering those photos to the client. I'm gonna break each step down into a separate video so that you can kind of consume them at your own pace. I'll also put them in a playlist, so if you wanna binge them all together, you can. Or, if you wanna come back later, you always can. This first video is just going to cover the first few steps of the process, which are ingesting the files, culling, and getting them ready to edit. After that will be a video about basic editing, another video about more fine edits and photoshopping, and then another video about how I wrap everything up and get it ready for delivery. I'm also gonna try to put together a video about how I shot this wedding. I have a lot of behind the scenes video from my Ray-Ban Meta glasses that I would love to share with you and kind of commentate, discuss what my thoughts are in each moment. So definitely look out for that as well. I don't know, this is all subject to change. Honestly, I'm just winging it right now. We'll see what happens. But let's get to it. So, you just shot the wedding. Congratulations, great job. How's your back feeling? Okay, we're home. I have already plugged my SD cards into my card reader, which is into my computer. I'm gonna open both of these up. And I'm going to open my hard drive. Ideally, you have a hard drive dedicated to your photography work. This is what I have found to be the easiest way to stay organized. If that's not a possibility for you right now, or if you just don't have that, that's okay. Make a folder for your photography work. As you can see here, I have a bunch of different folders ranging from album projects to a personal iPhone backup. I will eventually put that on a different hard drive. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Anyway, this is all my photography work here. I'm gonna go into my weddings folder because obviously I shot a wedding. And here's where the organization really starts. So I'll make a new folder. I'm going to use 2 underscores so that when sorting alphabetically, the underscored folders will always come up on top. I'm gonna start with the date because I've always found that the easiest way for me to identify a wedding is by date rather than by name after shooting hundreds of weddings. So this one was the 18th of April of 2026, and the bride and groom were Brenna and Dylan. Okay, so the folder is set up. Let's open that folder up. I'm gonna just bring it over to the side. And then we have our 2 memory card folders here. First one, I'm going to grab all the files that I shot that day. I'm gonna hit Command A to select all and literally just drag them into this folder. So once it catches up here, 3,442 files are now going to be dumped into that Brenna and Dylan folder. Cool. I shot on 2 camera bodies and used 2 memory cards. So I'm gonna open my next one, do the same exact thing, select all the files, drag them over here, 2,600 more coming over, and now we wait. Okay, the files have transferred. They are on my hard drive. The next thing I need to do is back them up. You'll see I have my backup drive here. It's set to automatically back up everything that I have on my working drive, this 2026 hard drive, every night at midnight. So it's literally a carbon copy of my working drive. If you don't have another external drive to back things up on, that's okay. Back it up on your computer. Back it up to the cloud, Google Drive, Dropbox, at least until you've delivered the wedding. Personally, I keep every wedding photo I've ever shot. I can't tell you how many times I've had couples reach out from years earlier saying, hey, I don't know where my hard drive is. Can you upload those files again? And it's very easy to do so. You don't have to do that. You're not obligated to do so, but that's how I choose to do it. So I have mine backed up to a hard drive and the cloud. You can literally drag and drop the folder you just made into your other hard drive, or if you have some backup software to automatically do it for you, even better. But make sure your files are in at least 2 separate locations before you deliver them. Okay, files are backed up. Now let's start culling. What is culling? Culling is selecting which images will be edited and then eventually delivered to your clients. It's a really important part of the process because when I shoot a wedding, I shoot about 6,000 photos, and I know for a fact that my couples don't want to sit down and go through 6,000 photos. How do I know that? I don't want to sit down and go through 6,000 photos, and I'm good at that. Our job is to cull down into a manageable amount for our couples. So for me, a normal wedding day, I will deliver anywhere from 800 to 1,200 photos, depending on what happens during that day. Some of them are duplicates that have been converted to black and white. We'll talk about that later. But that 800 to 1,200 number is pretty consistent for where I end up. So as I'm culling, I'm going to keep that in mind. I don't want to overwhelm my couples with excessive photos that they don't need, but I also don't want to skimp out on photos that might not mean something to everyone else, but mean something to the couple or the people involved in the photo. So these are the kinds of decisions we have to make in the culling process. Now, I have personally tried 3 separate ways of culling. Number 1, the way that I've done most of my career and the way that most photographers cull is on the computer in either Lightroom or Photo Mechanic or another selecting software. I highly recommend, when you're starting out at least, to cull on the computer because it gives you the most tools. You can magnify, you can see a bunch of photos at once, you can copy, paste, you can reorganize. Everything's right there at your fingertips. Culling on the computer will help you develop a method or a style in which you like to select your photos. And after doing it a few times, you'll have a much better idea of the kinds of things you're looking for in your selections. Method number 2, AI culling. This has not worked for me. I can't recommend it to anybody, but it has worked for other people. So it might be worth checking out for you. I just like to have a lot more control than AI culling gives me. So although I've tried it a few times in hopes that it might work out, it just hasn't done the trick for me. What I can say for AI culling is it does a good job of finding closed eyes and photos that are out of focus, but I still think it has a hard time deciphering if it's purposeful, if it's a storytelling element, and just overall if that photo is necessary to tell their story. So again, maybe it's for you, not for me. The third method, my new favorite method, one that I've been using for the last year, is culling in camera. And instead of just telling you about it, I'm gonna show you how I cull in camera right now. And then I'll show you how to cull on the computer too. I just realized I wasn't recording any of that audio. Sorry, I am all over the place. Okay, so in order to cull in camera, I'm going to eject these 2 memory cards that I just imported the files from, take them out of my card reader, set one aside, and put the other in my camera. Next, I'm gonna open up this flap that has all the input ports and plug in my mini HDMI to HDMI converter. The other end of the HDMI can get plugged into a TV, a monitor. I have an HDMI extension cable, so I'm gonna plug it into that. But the end of that extension cable then gets plugged into my monitor. The reason I'm using this HDMI cable is so that while I'm culling on camera, I don't have to look at my little 2-inch screen. I can look at my 27-inch monitor. Or if I wasn't recording this and using all this lighting equipment and audio equipment, I'd be on my recliner using my 60-inch TV. And that's exactly what I normally do when I'm culling, and one of the reasons why I love this method so much. Okay, now that we're all plugged in, I'm gonna turn on my camera and go straight into review mode. All right, so now you should be seeing everything that you would have seen on your camera screen on your monitor or your TV screen. This is the first photo that I take at every single wedding that I shoot, and I have all my second shooters take the same photo. I'll explain why later, but I need this photo for my selections. Every photo that I'm gonna use gets 1 star. Every other photo that I don't plan on using gets either 0, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars. So how do I do that? Like that. On the back of the R6, there's a button that says rate. This button increases the rating of your photo by 1 star each time. So it just went from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, back down to 0. Again, we're gonna use this, so I'm keeping this as a 1 star. Next photo. This looks great. I'm gonna keep this one. 1 star. Next. Oh, you know what? This one's great too. Here's a great example. Let's say I like this photo better than the last one. Give this one a 1 star, and we're gonna come back to the other one. We can see it's 1 star already. We're just gonna increase it. Now it's 2 stars. Again, only the 1 stars get edited. Every other rating does not. So when we're in Lightroom, after we import these again, we'll have the ability to select only the 1 star photos. So I'm gonna navigate through the rest of these photos, selecting the ones that I wanna edit. As you can see, it's really, really fast to go through these without any buffer time. I'll kind of go through really fast so you can see just how little buffer there is. You can't really do this on a non-supercomputer at this speed. Another one of the reasons why I really love this method. 2 other really cool things I want to show you real quick. If I hit this Q button on the back of my camera, there are a couple tools here. Highlight alert is one of them, and autofocus point display is another. So highlight alert, I'm going to turn this on, and this will show me, maybe if I select a better photo with blown out highlights. Come on, where is it? Okay, here's a good one. All these black spots that are flashing are blown out highlights. That basically means there's no information in the file to pull back. So no matter how dark you make it, it will always be white. When I'm culling in camera on my recliner using my TV as my monitor, I keep this on because my TV is not calibrated in the same way that my work computer is. So what might be blown out on my TV might not actually be blown out on the file, or vice versa, if that makes sense. Right now I'm using my computer, so I'm going to turn it off actually so I don't get distracted by it. But let me show you the other useful feature here. which is autofocus point display. If I turn that on, it shows me exactly where I had positioned my autofocus point for that photo. The reason this is useful is if I have a set of images like this, let's say these two, where they're very similar, but focus might be a factor in which one I choose, I can come in here, use the zoom feature on my camera, and compare the two. Oops, not that one. And I can tell I like this one better. So I'm gonna rate that one 1 star, zoom back out, and continue. So that's it. I'm gonna do this for all 2,664 photos on this card. I'm gonna do it for all 3,200 photos on the other card, and then I'll show you how to cull on the computer. I just finished culling the entire wedding on these 2 cards on my camera. So my next step is to put these cards back in the card reader and get them back onto my computer. Next, I go into my working drive. I'm gonna go into the folder that I created before, Brenna and Dylan, and I'm gonna name this copy. The one that's already existing, I'm renaming it. And guess what? I'm gonna make another version of that original folder. Oop. And that is going to be the folder that I now drop the rated photos now that I've given them star ratings. Oops, I just ejected my cards. Creature of habit. As I was saying, now that these files have ratings attached to them, these are really the ones that I want to be working from, not those original ones. Those were there just in case anything happened while I was culling in camera, while I was transporting my memory cards, anything catastrophic whatsoever. I had those files backed up already on my computer and in all other manners of backup that I use. Okay, so now let's open these cards. Command A to select all the files again. Let my computer catch up and drag them into our new working folder for this wedding. And I will catch up with you again once this is finished. Actually, while these files are loading into the folder, why don't we set up our Lightroom catalog? So step 1, if you don't have Lightroom, get Lightroom. Step 2, once Lightroom is installed, I like to create a new catalog for every wedding that I shoot. I shoot a lot of weddings a year, so I don't need tens, hundreds of thousands of photos loading every time I go to work. I would rather just a few thousand load every time I go to work on one project, and then I can close that project and work on whatever project is next whenever that time comes. It's easy enough to switch between catalogs. It takes all of 10 to 15 seconds to go from one to the other inside of Lightroom. So I don't see any benefit, honestly, to having all of my photos in one catalog. So for years I've been doing it this way. I have Lightroom set to open a dialog box asking me which catalog I want to open every time I start Lightroom. That can be found in the settings. I'll leave on the screen somewhere the path that you need to take to get to that setting. If you don't want to change that setting, you can hold Option if you're on Mac, or Alt, I believe, on Windows when you go to open Lightroom, and it will come up with a dialog box like this. We're creating a new catalog, so I'm going to click here. It's going to ask me where I want to save it. It already knows that I'm going to be saving it in Brenna and Dylan, apparently. So I am going to, again, using my naming system with the 2 underscores, I'm going to call this Brenna and Dylan 2026. They had a smaller wedding in 2025 that I also photographed. So to distinguish between the two, I use the date, and then I also label it LRCat, Lightroom catalog. This is going to create another folder within that original Brenna and Dylan folder where all of our Lightroom catalog files will be held. There's some preview files, there's the actual catalog itself, some other extra files that I have no idea what they do, but they're important, so that's where they're all going to be held. Create, and it'll open up to something like this. Lightroom can look very overwhelming if you've never used it before, but it's actually super simple when you break everything down. It's designed to work from top to bottom and left to right. Top, up here, our toolbar. First thing we need to do is start on the left side in library. This is where all of our file organization will happen. It's faster to navigate through files in the library tab than it is in the develop tab because you're previewing them at a smaller rendering size. Whereas in the develop module, you're looking at files at their full size. So we're in the library module. We're going to come down here to import. And this is where we're going to tell Lightroom which photos to add to our library. Up here is the from section. So we're importing from my memory card right now. I don't want to be doing that. I already have the files backed up here. They are done, by the way. They finished in the background. So we're here in weddings, Brenna and Dylan, and you'll see them all populate here on the screen in front of us. Down here at the bottom, you see the total 6,106 photos, 55 gigabytes. And now up here again, remember I said it's designed to work top to bottom. So we're going from my 2026 hard drive from this folder location. We are importing, and I'm going to add these files to my Lightroom catalog without moving them, because I want those files to stay in that original folder that I put them in. You can copy as a DNG. It'll just convert your files from whatever format they're in to DNG. You can copy them as they are. You can move them, which will take them from the original folder and put them into whatever folder you're moving them to. Or you can just add them to your catalog and let them stay in place, which is my preferred method of doing it. Over here on the right, we're adding them to my catalog. In the middle here, this middle section, obviously this is where you're selecting the photos that you want to import. So I know that on this card, everything is from this wedding, except for these first few photos, which I took the morning of the wedding because it was a really beautiful day out. So I'm gonna uncheck those photos and leave, 6,090 photos to import to this wedding. Here are the settings that I use for my file handling on the right here. Minimal previews, because I like to get to work as soon as I'm done importing. When previews build, it takes a lot of time initially to save a little bit of time in the long run. My computer's fast enough to the point that I don't have to deal with too much buffering or rendering while I'm editing, so smart previews don't make that much of a difference to me, so I don't use them. I have this set to don't import selected duplicates, just in case I accidentally ever check a photo that has already been added to the library. I don't reject images, so these don't matter. I don't make a second copy. I'm not adding to any kind of collections yet. I'm not applying any develop settings. I'm not adding metadata to this. I'm not adding keywords. All I'm doing is literally adding the photos as they are into this Lightroom catalog. So we're gonna hit import. And you'll see this number go up on the current import. This is how many photos are in the library right now. By the time it's done importing, it should have 6,090. All right, we're good, 6,090 right here. And I'm just realizing now that I forgot to uncheck these other photos from the morning of on my other card. So I'm just gonna actually select all of these and hit delete, because I'm gonna remove them from my Lightroom catalog. I'm not gonna delete them from the disk. They're fine to stay there, I don't care. But I am gonna remove them from the catalog. I tend not to delete anything from the disk until I'm done with the entire wedding, just in case there's any kind of file corruptions or problems like that. Okay, now that those are taken care of, we've got 6,062 total photos in here. You can see the star ratings have transferred over. Now, remember I said we can filter by just the 1-star photos. If we come down in our library module, come down to this toolbar down here, the filter toolbar, and I'm gonna select 1 star. I'm gonna come over here to this symbol, and instead of keeping it on the greater than or equal to, which is what I normally operate on, I'm gonna select rating is equal to 1 star. And there we have 663 photos, which is about 10% of the photos that I took from the day. Hey, I'm editing this video right now. I just realized that I forgot to include a clip of me explaining that when I imported my photos after culling, I accidentally imported one of my backup cards instead of the card that I culled on. So right now, not all of my 1-star photos are actually in my collection. You'll see later that I actually ended up with 1,100 selections after my initial cull. Now I'm gonna come in and select only the 2-star photos, because these are the ones that I had originally selected as 1 stars, but then changed. So I'm gonna select all of them by hitting Command A, and then I'm gonna hit 0 on my keyboard. That will give them all a 0-star rating, and you'll see them all disappear because, again, we're only filtering by 2 stars right now. Next, I'm gonna jump up to 3 stars. Make sure that there's none. Yep, see? There was a hidden photo in here with 3 stars. Any 4 stars? No. Any 5? No. Okay. So now all the photos should either be 1 or 0 stars. Now, I'm gonna leave it at rating is greater than or equal to 1 star. Going forward, we're gonna see any photo that has any kind of rating aside from 0. At this point, I'm ready to edit. However, I did say I would tell you how to cull on Lightroom. So let's get into that first. For the purposes of this demo, I'm gonna use a different wedding so that the ratings don't get all jumbled up. But if you want to cull in Lightroom, you don't need to make that backup folder like I did before. You can actually just import those files straight from the first time that we imported them into the computer into Lightroom. So let's say you've just shot your wedding, imported the photos onto your hard drive, backed them up. That's where we're picking this up right now. So we've opened Lightroom. We're gonna come back to that location where the photos are. Let's say instead of Brenna and Dylan, it's Anna and Joe this time. I would import all of these photos in the same way that I imported all the others from Brenna and Dylan. For the purposes, again, of this demonstration, I'm just going to import, say, these 50 or so. I'm gonna hit import. Again, I would really be importing all of my photos from the wedding. And then once they're done, I have a visualization of all of them here in my library tab. I can adjust the size of the thumbnails here. So if I want to get an overview of what the ceremony photos are all looking like as a group, or group photos to see generally how the lighting is shifting or the color temperature, I can kind of get a bird's eye view of that here. I can make the thumbnails larger in case I want to actually cull right in this view and see a few photos compared to each other at the same time. But let's kind of walk through this. So let's say I'm culling. I can open this up and view this in full size, just like I was on my screen as I was culling before on my camera. And I can just navigate through the photos using my arrow keys. And by using a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on my keyboard, or a 0, I can set the rating of these photos. Super simple, very easy to do. It's usually pretty fast. I have had some experience in the past where if I'm going too fast, my computer gets bogged down a little bit. Nowadays, processors are way better than they used to be, and I don't have that problem quite as much. But then again, I don't use my computer to cull anymore, so I can't speak on that. But I did it this way for over 10 years, and I know it works. Lightroom has a few features that the camera option doesn't have, such as like this compare option here. You can, really get in there and zoom in on things if you need to. You can be organizing your photos as you go when you're culling on your computer. You can also be developing the photos as you go. Say you need to just brighten something up, you can do that really quick. So there are definitely benefits to culling on your computer. That's why I recommend beginners start on your computer. You have every tool available to you. You can even, I didn't even mention this, if for any reason you need another rating system on top of the stars, you can use color ratings. You can use flagging. You can use the quick collection. You can sort in collections and folders, sub collections. There's so many organizational options in Lightroom that can help if you're just learning the ropes in culling. Once you've got that down, you'll know which direction you'd rather take it, if you want to keep it on the computer or try something else. But that's it, that's computer culling. You would go through the entire wedding this way, and once you're done, again, you'll be able to sort through your star ratings, your color ratings, whatever ratings you may have done, and you're ready for editing. So that's where I'm gonna leave you for this video. Next video, we're gonna pick up with what I do next, which, as I said, was our first edit. Then we'll follow up with fine-tune editing, photoshopping, final file organization, exporting, and delivery. So if you want to follow along, make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment if I missed something. If you have any questions, if you have any recommendations for me, I'm learning every day still, as we all should be. So if you got something to say, I want to hear it. Okay, I gotta go pick up my daughter from school. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.